And I'm back from my break after the Christmas and New Year. It's now 2020, time for a new Let's Play. It's the 2013 Reboot Tomb Raider.
A famous explorer once said that the extraordinary is in what we do, not who we are. I'd finally set out to make my mark, to find adventure. But instead, adventure found me. In our darkest moments, when life flashes before us, we find something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us.
This would happen.
Come on, Doctor!
Where the
Help us out here!
No sign of Robin Lara.
Jonah! I'm here!
Now, I will warn you right away that if you're a die-hard fan of the reboot trilogy of Tomb Raider, you might not necessarily enjoy my videos on this project. Not because I don't enjoy the reboot, I enjoy the reboot trilogy for what it is, but I feel like it pales in comparison to what the Legend trilogy was. I feel the Legend trilogy is drastically superior to what the reboot could ever try to do. And a lot of my issues stem from this first game that are either only softly addressed or just straight up never addressed throughout the entirety of the trilogy. But we'll get to them as and when we go through, because there is, despite how much I'm probably going to end up critiquing this game as we go, there is a lot I enjoy about it, and I wanted to do this live to kind of just give more of my raw impression as we go. So God knows how much recording I'll get done, and how much I'll be able to keep on top of uploads, because I haven't done it live properly in a while, because I'm usually doing much bigger projects that require much more attention and time. But when you start, this bit's kind of at the start is kind of easy to get a feel for. It's getting you an idea to learn that the left stick moves. And so they actually do a kind of clever way of tutorializing it, but instead of making it just telling you to walk and run, asking you to try and break free from here by shaking the stick in different directions. Because what you're supposed to realize here is that by burning that, it's burning all the log across, so you can burn the cloth keeping you tied. Which, yes, will hurt like shit, but it will get you to break free. So when you're ready, if you touch it, you'll spark up a little bit, and then it just engulfs you immediately, which is like, okay, sure. And then you get to introduce to the next thing that becomes quite common in the reboot trilogy. Absolutely torturing poor Lara here. In all three games of the reboot trilogy, they hurt this poor girl immensely. Like they're trying to go down more of this, she's a survivor route, not just an explorer. Which, as much as I enjoy for what it is, I wish that they kept the explorer side of it more a part of the whole trilogy. Like the survivor taking more prominence on the first game of the reboot, I can completely understand, because they wanted it to be more of like a prequel story. Like before she became the Tomb Raider, she was just a survivor kind of thing. And so having her go through all these hardships and it be slightly less about the exploration and less about tomb raiding. Well, I say that there is no mandatory tombs in this game, full stop, and that is a crime. But I let it off for it being the prequel game. There's only optional little challenges that they call tombs, but when we get to them, you'll see what I mean. They're not. If you've played any of the old Tomb Raiders, they're not tombs at all. They're just challenges over the same name, just to justify the name sense. But the fact that the second game, Rise of the Tomb Raider, kinda doesn't change when it should have been the one to go full force on tombs. And it's until Shadow, the third of the trilogy, where they finally like embrace tombs thoroughly and remind us, oh yeah, wait, this series is called Tomb Raider. That bugged me. Like it's weird. Like each game in the reboot, I enjoy more than the last. Like, that's not to say I don't like this game. Like I said, I'll have to keep reminding as we go through. I feel like it's going to be said a lot. I thoroughly enjoy all 3 games in the reboot. I just have a lot of problems with them. I wouldn't be playing this if I didn't enjoy it. The only time I ever played a game I didn't really like was DMC2, and that was because I really wanted to show the difference between the DMC2 and 3. So I'd never willingly, without good reason, play a game I don't like. I do like this game, and if I cover the rest of the reboot trilogy, I like those games as well. I just have a lot of things that I have problems with in these games. But in this opening section here, we are actually trying to escape, and this water cannot be good for that open wound that Lara has got in her belly, but sure. But I will compliment the graphicalness of it, the graphical detail in this game, because keep in mind, this isn't a PS4 game. This came out on PS3 and 360 and then was ported to PS4 and Xbone later on. This is a 360 game through and through, and you'll feel that a lot as we go through. There's a lot of hideaway load screens where you'll do little things that are literally just there because it's loading the next section. It's sort of like there's another game that came out really late in the end, the Castlevania Lord of Shadows 2, the sequel to the reboot, that has a lot of like hidden load screens because that game is so graphically detailed. Like both games, like this more so, I think, is very graphically impressive, and it kind of held its own against like PS4 and Xbone games in the early days. So its port to the current platforms made sense. More so because you got bonuses for the rest of the games in the reboot if you had a save file, which I love that old school mentality. If you played a previous game, you get a bonus in the next game, so it picks up the save file. I miss games that used to do that. I've always loved it when games do that, because it just feels like it's almost like a commitment badge of honor. Like I remember when Bravely Default did that. If you played Bravely Default, you got a bonus. But if you played Bravely Second's demo, you also got another bonus. So you could walk into Bravely Second with 2 starting bonuses, and when you beat the game, it'd say keep this save file in case you need it later on. You know, just in case they made a third game on the 3DS, to which never happened because the next Bravely game is going to be on the Switch, and unless they're going to re-release the first 2 games, that save file's now wasted. But once you solve that basic puzzle of lifting up the thing and pushing that through, it's time to escape, because the place is going to start destroying around you. I'm not sure if there's a soft time limit going on, but because I think everything kind of breaks away in context to where you are. But for the sake of, I don't know if they actually do, I'd say don't hang about. Also, you can tell this is an early PS4 game because I turned it all off before I started recording, but you can do voice commands in this game. You can voice command Lara to turn her torch off. You can voice command Lara to light her torch when we get a striker later. You can voice command her to equip a silenced weapon. You can voice command her to go aggressive, things like that. So I turned off all the voice commands, but it was just a fun thing that when I was going through the settings, I was like, wow, they put all this here? They also use the touchpad a lot. If I slide down the touchpad, the light will go out as well, and if I slide up, she'll light it when we get a striker later on. This section I know is time limited, this bit we're coming up to here, and I know that because my dad is a huge Tomb Raider fan as well, but his reaction speed for quick time events is nowhere near as quick as mine, and so he died at this section loads when we first got here, because he was my dad's the reason why I'm a Tomb Raider fan to begin with, because he was playing Tomb Raiders from since right at the start, and my earliest memory of video games is him playing Tomb Raider 3 on the Dreamcast. I think it was Tomb Raider 3, it might have been 4, it was one of the ones on the Dreamcast. And I've every single Tomb Raider before the reboot trilogy came about, he'd play through them first, finish them, and then lend them to me. It changed when the reboot came out because, you know, I was actually getting money for myself and was looking after myself a bit more, even if I was only 14 at the time. So I brought it myself. And that continued for the whole reboot trilogy of it essentially being the flipped way round. I'd play them first and then give them to Dad. Which means I did have to buy this game twice because I said I don't... When it's between my dad and I, we don't really do borrowing, we just give them. Like I've got all three of the Legend trilogy on PS2. And they're my dad's copies. Yeah, I've also got all 3 games on the 360 that are my copies. That's what I mean, because my dad's one of those people who kind of just plays them once. But once you get out, you are actually in the game proper, and you do get your title screen, which I've kind of just glossed over because I'm reminiscing here. This is a game that I can kind of zone out of and talk live about different things whilst I'm acting, and that's not to say because it's an easy game, it's just because, like I said, I enjoy them, so I can zone out and just still know where I'm going and what I'm doing. That being said, I haven't played this one in a while, because if I'm going to go back to the reboot trilogy, I'll start with Rise, because at least there's more tomb raiding per se, and the actual optional tombs in that game are more fleshed out than this one. Because this one is very much experimental, I think is the best way to put it. Which is probably why I let it off with a lot of things, and why I'm a bit harsher on Rise, even though I like it more as a whole. Because this one being like the first step in a different direction, I didn't expect it to hit every nail on the head first time round. There are problems with this game. There are things that you have to kind of adjust to and deal with. How you aim in this game is one of them, and although they kind of address it and make it smoother, it's still nowhere near as effective as the Legend trilogy. However, I do appreciate that it's entirely manual aim in this game, because that is something I do prefer over the Legend trilogy. Because the Legend trilogy, like, if you want to manual aim, you have to stand perfectly still, because it's just got that archaic old design of it wants you to just hold left trigger and Lara will lock onto the closest thing next to her, and then you hold right trigger and she'll keep on shooting until whatever it is dies. And in this, they wanted to kind of do away with that automatic aim for you. Which, as much as I appreciate the aim for you thing, and it is fun, I get the decision to move to more manual because it gets you more involved. But the manual aim kind of falls into the Last of Us trap of making it too realistic. Like, Lara will shake a bit too much, and it just becomes kind of annoying. But unlike The Last of Us, the games learn from it. People didn't appreciate the game being so shaky in this one because they weren't die-hard fanboys that defended it breathing, like The Last of Us. And so instead of pretending that this overly realistic but completely fucking useless gameplay mechanic was good game design just because the story was decent, these guys had to work for it. And so although it's a bit shaky and overly realistic instead of fun in this game, it gets far better in the sequels. And although it's still a little shaky, it's far smoother in the sequels, and it becomes its own in Shadow. I think that's the main reason why I wanted to tackle this reboot trilogy, for when I inevitably get to Rise, and then when I inevitably get the Shadow especially. Because I love Shadow. Shadow really surprised me with how much of an improvement it was over Rise. But then Rise also impressed me with how much of an improvement it was over this one. Like, I think that's the best thing about the reboot trilogy, is that each game is better than the last. So if you start the reboot trilogy, if you're a little unsure of this one, but you kind of enjoy it, you'll probably like Rise, and you'll probably really like Shadow. But if you genuinely really enjoy this, Rise and Shadow are going to take you home, because you're going to fucking love them. But that being said, I should really talk about what's going on. Our ship crashed in this strange triangle that's not the Bermuda Triangle, it's a different treacherous evil triangle that has loads of bad things happen. A storm attacked our boat, destroyed it, we got shipwrecked. Lara got attacked by a ridge cult and kidnapped. We escaped, and now we're just trying to survive. We found a bag that's got a radio so we can try and contact the others, but no luck. But that being said, we're now freezing cold in this rain because surviving is a thing in this game. So this sticks and twigs here, we're going to make a campfire, and I'm going to let this cutscene play out.
Is anyone listening? Please respond. Here's the soon-to-be world-famous archaeologist, Lara Croft, in her native habitat. She's on the hunt for the lost kingdom of Yamatai, home to the fabulous Himiko, mythical Sun Queen, and ancestor of yours truly.
Sam, this is serious.
Oh, sweetie, I know. I'm just trying to lighten the mood here. Everyone's so on edge. What are you so worried about?
I'm close to something. I'm sure of it. I just don't know if the others will listen. Or even if they should.
Lara, you know this stuff better than anyone. Seriously, I'm not just saying this to make you feel better. I trust you, Roth trusts you. You got this. Now let's take a break, okay?
Okay. And Sam, thanks.
She's not always this serious, you know?
Come on, tackle it! No, it's your chance!
How can you suggest I'm not serious about this expedition, Lara? It's not just Sam's family funding us. I put my savings on the line, too.
We've all got some kind of stake in this. The funding won't last forever, Whitman.
That's precisely why we should push east, not west.
No one believes Yamatai is that far east. The books simply don't support it.
Well, whoever wrote those books never found Yamatai.
I've talked to Roth about this. There's no point in following in other people's footsteps, Dr. Whitman.
I refuse to bet my reputation on your hunch. I'm the lead archaeologist here.
And when were you last in the field without a TV crew behind you?
Got 30 years experience, 2 PhDs, 1 in East Asian history, so why don't you just stick to boats, Mr. Grimm?
Ship, Dr. Whitman. It's a ship. You don't need a PhD to know
Look,
that.
going east will take us directly into the Dragon's Triangle. That's where we need to go.
Lara, my little bird. I'd follow you almost anywhere, but that place has a bad energy.
Bad storms, more like, makes the Bermuda Triangle look like Disney World.
I'm gonna warn you right now, this reboot makes a lot of real-world cultural references to try and make it more believable, and some of them are alright, but some of them are fucking stupid. So, and thankfully they do away with it completely in the sequels, so just be prepared for that.
Inside the Dragon's Triangle.
That doesn't look good.
If it's wet, I can sail on it.
Oh, don't tell me you're seriously
Reyes is right. We don't have the funds to piss about. It's now or never. Lara's offering fresh ideas and a plan. I'm the captain here. It's my decision. We're going into the Dragon's Triangle.
Why am I even here?
Yeah, why are you even here, Whitman? Like, I know the game kind of does it for you, but Whitman is impossible to like. And I know that's the point, they don't want you to like Whitman, but there's being an arsehole, and then there's Whitman. Like, we're gonna learn to hate this guy as this game goes on. But that being said, I'm gonna call this apart as we've recovered. Next time on Tomb Raider, we're gonna try and find a way to get some food, because we're gonna starve otherwise. But until then, take care now.